Hey strangers, welcome to another intriguing episode of the Strange Sessions. As always, I am Kurt, and I am joined tonight by my lovely co-host, who is also 5-time WWE Women's Champion, Krista.
Wait, what does WWE stand for?
World Wrestling.
Oh, I thought you'd make up something new.
No.
Because I'm clearly not into wrestling.
That's unfortunate.
I don't know. I got nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. Apparently, we make a beautiful couple,
pair.
though.
Yeah.
What was the comment?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. Kurt posted a throwback picture of us on Facebook. I don't think in the strangers, but from many years ago when we were going out to lunch together, and two people made the same exact comment under it, something like beautiful together or something like that.
Yeah, it is two people, one after the other, put so beautiful together.
So beautiful together. It's kind of weird that they both use the same exact phrase.
But thank you.
But yeah, hey, we're a handsome couple. What can I say?
We are.
My husband's not on Facebook, so it's okay.
So yeah, we'll keep that on the DL.
Yeah.
That we are beautiful together, apparently.
I don't know how much on the DL we can keep that.
That's true. Now it's out in the public. Oh boy.
So how are you?
Not feeling the best. We discussed that I don't know if I'm coming down with something again, or I'm having stomach issues all day. And
don't breathe on me, please. Everybody's sick right now.
I know. It's weird. I'm just constantly sick. There's a cycle where I'm sick and then I get a little better and then I get sick again. So
do we need to talk about your nutrition?
Oh, yeah.
Probably not on the podcast.
Yeah, considering that I ate a gas station hot dog on the way down here. But first things first, we want to give a couple shout-outs.
Yes.
Give shout-outs to our new strangers, and those people are Phineas T. Bird Pocket, which is just the coolest name.
Oh my God,
yeah,
I
which
love
is just
that.
the coolest name.
Phineas T. Bird Pocket.
Seth Sturm, Natalie Burton,
hey,
who
Natalie.
is my ex-girlfriend that we mentioned in I think in a couple episodes, but mostly
because she was in that apartment
in
with
the episode about our personal paranormal experiences, because she lived in the apartment with me where the weird stuff happened.
Yeah,
she
so
was
that was
actually
season 1, right?
Yeah, she was actually the first one to notice that stuff, because I poo-pooed her and said, no, there's nothing weird going on here. I'm a ghost hunter.
Funny.
I would know. And then I started hearing the voices.
And finding the toys.
And finding the Legos and all that stuff. So
interesting. Well, welcome Natalie.
Welcome to the strangers, Natalie. Also, Stephen Kogel and Nathan Ward. Thank you guys so much for joining the strangers. Do you have a personal shout-out?
I have a shout-out. I haven't added this person as a stranger yet, but maybe I'll do that. But his name is Shawn Morgan.
Hey, Shawn.
Long story, really short. I just know him through Instagram, also Facebook. We're friends on Facebook now. But he, from what I have deduced, because I think his info on Instagram says he's I don't know, dog pal extraordinaire or something like that. So and all of his pictures are of these dogs that he must. I don't know if he has a doggy daycare, and they're always at these beautiful parks in New York. And I have a dog. I'm a dog person, so I just really liked his photos. I don't know how I came across his profile, but so we've been following each other on Instagram for a long time now. And I noticed that he had followed the Strange Sessions.
Sweet.
Because I had posted something in my profile about it, about how we had followers, that we had hit 300 followers on Instagram. And the other day he made a comment on something very specific that I said. He quoted me on the peanut butter, banana, and mayo sandwich. And I was like, oh, he's actually listening to the show.
Awesome.
So that's kind of surprising. You just never know. I think people who are friends follow because they know you're doing it, but they don't actually listen.
Well, some people don't tell us that they listen either.
Right, that's true. So, Shawn, I said I would give you a shout out. Here's your shout out.
Awesome.
So, love your pictures. If you guys want to see really cute dog pictures with funny captions, his handle on Instagram is Shawn, as in SEAN_dogs. I'm sorry, Shawn's. So SEANS_dogs.
Cool.
Shawn's dogs. Yes.
Cool. I love doggies too.
Me too.
I'm a cat person, but I love doggies.
I love all animals.
I don't think I have a personal shout out.
Well,
but something kind of cool did happen this week where on the podcast, I've talked about how much I love armchair treasure hunts.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the Jenny Kyle's site, Mysterious Writings. I've written articles for that site about some famous armchair treasure hunts. And going back to when I was a kid, there was a magazine that came out in the late 70s called Games Magazine. and I was obsessed with this magazine when I was a kid. It has, crossword puzzles. It has all sorts of really cool contests in it. And it's a really, really good magazine called Games. And sometime in the mid-90s, they turned it into Games World of Puzzles. But it's still out there. And one day I got a message on Facebook from somebody that is writing an article for it about armchair treasure hunts, and they want to use some of my stuff.
Nice.
So
You had something published somewhere about an armchair
on the
treasure
website.
hunt.
On
Okay.
the website, yeah.
Okay.
But this is like my favorite magazine.
That's
so,
amazing.
Yeah, so he sent me a bunch of questions and I answered them, so it'll be in the article. So it's
You
just
have to post a link to
I know,
the strangers.
it's amazing to me that my name will actually be in this magazine that I've been obsessed with my
That
whole life.
is
So
really,
that's really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, so I'm super happy about that.
That's awesome. Hey, speaking of my friend Nikki B, she's a stranger. She listens to the show. Hey, Nikki, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Hi, Nikki.
She had sent me a link in Messenger about the Oak Island treasure thing. And I had mentioned to her, she had just found an article about it. And I said, I'm pretty sure there's a TV show all about this.
Oh, yeah, Curse of Oak
She
Island.
thought it was just a documentary, but
No,
it's on like season
it's
six.
on like it's on like its sixth season.
And you watch it?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's good, but
So it's really like a reality show kind of?
Yeah, it's good, but it's basically
like a
it's a lot of the
contest,
same
but-
stuff where they're trying to find the treasure that's on this island,
Okay.
supposedly on this island.
Searching. So
And
they're
it's
like
the
searching.
two brothers that own the island, and they're searching, and then it goes into a lot of theories about what the treasure might be. But yeah,
Okay.
my brother Corey and I love Oak Island stuff.
So they
At
follow
some
like a
point-
new lead every episode or something?
Yeah, at some point we're going to have an episode about Oak
Oh,
Island
very
because
cool.
we have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good show. It's definitely worth watching.
History Channel, I
History
think.
Channel. Yep.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check it out at some point. Any housekeeping other than...
I don't think
Shout-outs?
so. Wander, who won our contest,
Oh,
got
yeah,
back
yeah,
to
yeah.
me about the next episode's topic, so I'll start working on that.
We're not going to tell you what it is, though.
No.
Ha!
So our next episode will be our last episode for the season, but worry
Regular
not.
episode.
Yeah, worry not. We're still going to drop nuggets here or there, so you guys will still... We'll still be in your lives.
You'll get your taste of the K and the K.
Yeah, we'll still be in your lives. Krista and I are going to travel the country and just stay at your house for a night and talk with you at the dinner table.
Sure.
That sound good?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I better start saving for gas money. And then now's the point where we look at each other like, is there anything else we're forgetting?
Yeah. Of course there is, because there's always
'Cause
something
we'll
we're forgetting.
figure it out when we're pulling
Because
away
we
from
haven't hired our intern yet.
No, we're still... That'll be next season's contest.
We should probably
Be our
advertise for
intern.
that.
Be our intern.
We want an
I'm
intern,
a little
but we're not.
dismayed to find out that somebody... I guess Joe and Jeff went... And
I did.
Krista
Joe
went,
and I
looked at
did.
our iTunes ratings, and somebody rated us low because I dissed Led Zeppelin.
Yep. They said they love the podcast, but they can't handle the fact that, well, that's not exactly what they said, but yeah, it was because you didn't like Led Zeppelin.
Their
Blame it
good
on
stuff
you.
is really good.
You
Stairway
said
to
they're
Heaven is really
overrated.
good.
You said
But the rest of their
overrated.
stuff isn't that good. It's not. I think they're coasting on their good stuff. I really do. I don't hate them. If it's on, I'll
There
listen
go
to
our
it.
ratings, Kurt.
I know. I'm just sending us right down.
Yeah, so that person gave us, I think, 2 stars, and the only other 2-star rating we got was because that episode they listened to had poor audio quality.
Our first couple episodes
which
did.
we struggled with. Yeah, but they said they loved the podcast.
Part of me wants to go back and listen to our very first couple episodes, but I just don't want to because
It's fun to do that,
I
though.
was so nervous in those first couple episodes.
Yeah, you did good, though.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so we have all 5-star ratings except those 2, and they
Awesome.
said they love the podcast, but bad quality.
I'm okay with a
B,
bad
Led
rating if you
Zeppelin.
like the podcast.
Yeah,
So thank you so much, guys, for
or give us some constructive criticism if you're We don't want to be those people who are like, you can only give us a 5-star rating.
But I'm not going to come on and be like, yeah, I'm a leadhead now, Led Zeppelin man.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, leadhead.
Okay.
Or Zep heads or lead heads or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Stairway to Heaven was good. That's about
It's the
it.
only one?
Yeah, one of the only ones.
Okay. No comment. What's our taste test today?
Don't know. It's a double-blind taste test. It
But
was
it's
sent to us
from-
by my friend Shane Oshizanik, who I've known for quite a long time. I've known him for a long, long time. So he sent us some stuff he picked up at the grocery store. He said it's nothing that he wouldn't try himself.
That's probably all pickle stuff. People are obsessed with pickles now.
Well, yeah,
All
some
of
of it
our
is good. Like the
strangers.
pickle ice cream, I would have loved. The pickle cotton candy made me cringe for some reason. I just
Made
don't.
my teeth hurt.
Yeah, I just
Thinking
don't.
about it.
I don't get. Some pickle stuff is good, but I love pickle juice.
I'll try-
I'll drink straight up pickle juice, but some things shouldn't be.
I'll try anything with chocolate, so I would try the pickle chocolate.
The pickle chocolate actually looked really good. So let's see what Shane got us. I think he got us a couple things, so we may try one or two.
The big reveal.
Here's the big reveal.
Drum roll,
Sticking my
please.
hand into the Boxo mystery.
Just do a drum roll in your heads, listeners.
What? This is like cubic.
Ooh, cubic? Is it a Rubik's Cube? Ooh. What's that?
Tamarind seedless candy.
Tamarind?
Tamarind is... I've tasted tamarind and stuff, but I've never actually had tamarind. Huh.
Okay. Well, we got to figure out... Oh, weird.
It is
comes
weird.
in like little pods. Is that what we're tasting today?
Yeah.
So I got to take a picture.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that it gives nutrition facts.
Tamarind is a...
It says big and joy on it. What does that mean?
Big and joy?
Big and joy. It just says that in the corner.
Huh.
Big and joy. You must enjoy.
I think tamarinds are... It's a fruit. The tamarind tree produces pod-like fruit that contains an edible pulp used in cuisines around the world. Other uses of the pulp include traditional medicine and metal polish.
Okay. Metal polish.
It's basically a kind of nut.
But it looks like raisins or cherries.
it does look like
or,
raisins.
dried fruit or something. How do we get this? Oh man, there's like, you know how I am with packages. There's like some kind of
It's like the Hellraiser puzzle box.
tape or like a Rubik's Cube. You might as well have just handed me a Rubik's Cube. What's that?
Knife?
Kurt's giving me a knife. That he can't get open.
I just put lotion on my hands. I can't get... Here, it's that one.
Sweet. This one? Ooh. Was it in your pocket?
Yep.
It's warm.
That's thanks. That's also our defense if anybody breaks in here. And
This tiny little warm knife. Hold on, I just
not
put
the size
lotion
of-
on so I can't open
it's not
it.
the size of the knife.
I'm going to try not to end up in the emergency room.
I'm really curious about this
Oh, there we go.
because I've heard of tamarinds and I know things that tamarinds are in, but I've never had a tamarind. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, to be honest with you.
Tamarind. Yeah, it's usually, I've always seen it as like a flavoring in something
Yeah.
else. I've never had it as an actual just snack.
Do the sniff test.
If I ever get this box open, this is what I have to do.
I'll just start going to the main topic whenever you get
We'll
it
be
open.
reading our anonymous questions at the end, and I'll still be working on this
Yeah,
stupid
we'll open. Let's have
box.
this open next week, folks.
Come on. Oh, there we go. All right, sniff test.
Sniff test. Oh, that was a puzzled look.
No, it smells like raisins. That's what I think it smells like. I'm going to take a picture of this real quick.
Real quick ones. Yeah, you sounded
real quick
you
ones,
sounded
yeah,
very
hey.
Wisconsin. I'm gonna take a picture of this real quick.
Once. If my phone stops
And so,
being a dick. What the heck? My phone just restarted. You have to take a picture. Oh,
All right.
well, I'm going to grab one.
all right. It's like this little cute little box.
Yeah. And it's like coated in sugar, like
Well, so that can't be
coarse
bad.
sugar.
Oh,
Smell it.
yeah, it's got a like sort of raisinish smell.
Yeah.
You ready?
You're not like allergic to this or anything.
We're gonna find out.
Oh God. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Oh,
It tastes like
like those candies your grandparents put out at Christmas.
yeah.
The gummy ones that are coated in sugar and they're green.
It tastes like
It has a raisiny flavor to it.
it tastes like a sugared raisin.
But like a really strong one.
It's really good, actually.
I think it's good.
Okay, I really like those.
Yeah, I do too. It has a much sharper flavor than like a raisin.
I
would
want to say
have.
it's like a bigger raisin. It's like a cross between a raisin and a prune.
I like a prune. That
Yeah.
actually, it's a lot like a prune.
It's a lot like a sugared prune.
I like the crunch of the sugar.
As I've been having stomach problems all day, I'm sure a couple sugared prunes will do wonders for me.
Aren't prunes supposed to help you go?
Yeah, I haven't
Do
had a
you need
problem.
that?
I know. I need the opposite.
Maybe there's a block of cheese in there.
I hope so. I hope the next one is cheese.
Here's your knife.
Okay, I like these.
Definitely more prunish than raisin-ish.
What do you think out of 10?
I think they're good. I don't normally like candy like this. I'm a chocolate person, so I would give it like a 7.
I'm going to give it a 9. It's really good, and I would, if I had this home, I would eat it for a snack.
It's 1 point under a peanut butter banana and mayo sandwich.
Yeah, it really is. It's really good. And I'm guessing this is probably healthy. And I had 4 of them now, so I'm not allergic, I don't think.
Do you have any metal that you could polish with it?
My knife.
Oh, there you go. I think it's good.
Yeah, definitely a 9. I really like this.
You could put that in cereal or something, or oatmeal.
Oh, that would be good in cereal.
Really good in
or
oatmeal. All right, you heard it here first, kids.
Tamarinds. That's what's for breakfast.
Do you think it's tamarind is plural and singular?
That's a good question.
Someone Google that and get back to us.
Do we want to try another one out of the box of mystery?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, I really like these.
I like a 2 taste
It's a
test.
solid 9.
Solid 9.
And this, it's a bag of, it feels like crackers. This will be our last one for tonight. It is...
Whoa. Wow. I saw like some kind of Chinese...
Oh, banana cream biscuits. That can't be bad.
Ooh, that can't be bad at all.
It's Kong Guan. Kong Guan.
Here was my diet.
I actually drooled a little looking at that, so they're going to be good.
And gone. That's what
They're going to be gone.
Good and gone. Okay, you want to open it? You're going to make me struggle with the package.
Oh, I will open this one. Banana cream biscuits, and I got gas station coffee.
Sounds
so
delicious.
This is going to be good.
I might have to bring some of those home for my husband. He does like banana. I have not made him the peanut butter banana mayo sandwich yet.
Oh, that smells
very
really
banana-y.
good. Okay, I'm not hesitant about these at all.
No. I've never heard of anything like that, though. A banana cream cookie.
I think they smell really strong, and usually they don't. I wouldn't think that would smell that strong.
Oh, they're very banana-y.
Yeah.
I'm going to take 2 out. I have to look at the nutrition.
Oh, boy.
Oh. A serving size is 2 pieces, 160 calories. 2 grams of protein. 6 sugars. 6 sugars is not bad for cookies.
No, that's not bad for a cookie. It's technically a biscuit, not a cookie.
Oh, sorry. Are these from England?
Yeah.
Oh, I have it upside down. There's words on it.
It doesn't look so much like a cookie as it does like a
Ritz cracker.
like a Ritz cracker.
With something in the middle.
Yeah. They smell really good though. Shane, thank you for these. Neither of these were scary.
Well, it smells really banana-y.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. That's really good.
That is really good.
The biscuit part reminds me of like a Nilla wafer.
Yeah. That is really good. That
take a
cream
picture
is
of
really
that, too.
banana-ish.
But not like fake banana overpowering.
These are amazingly good.
They totally remind me of Ritz cracker. Like a cross between a Ritz cracker and a Nilla wafer. I need a glass of milk.
Yeah, somebody send us milk. Somebody send us milk to try.
Oh, please don't do that.
These are really good.
Really crunchy.
They're really crunchy.
I'll take some for Jim. I think he'd like that.
You take the banana cream biscuits. I'll take the tamarinds. How about that?
You don't want any more?
No, they're good though.
Okay.
Let Jim have them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
like the.
My husband likes anything in sandwich form, so.
I really like that cracker.
Sorry. I hate the sound of people eating.
I was gonna say, welcome to another episode of Kurt and Krista talk with their mouths full of food.
I like that the cookie or the cracker biscuit is not overly sweet.
No, it's not sweet at all, really.
Because the cream filling is. Sorry, I have to finish this before we start. I think I lost some down my jacket.
You're always ending up with food down your shirt or on your sweater.
You know. Okay, one more bite. We'll give us one.
Those are really good.
I'm annoying myself today. So, Kurt, what do you give this one?
Another 9.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9 too.
Yeah. I thought 10, but...
Then you think about the sandwich, and you're like, we
I know
can't give everything a 10.
I know a couple of the strangers said that they were going to try it. So if you did try it,
I want to hear
let us
about
know
it.
what you think.
Take a picture and post it on the strangers. I would love to see your version of the
You know,
peanut butter
maybe,
banana
because I was
meal.
thinking this week, maybe we were so scared of it, and that the fact that we liked it so much was because we were scared of it. So if we told people it was good and they tried it and didn't like it, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of psychology going on.
There's a lot of psychology.
Well, totally. If you guys tried that sandwich, I want to hear about it and see pictures.
And thank you again, Shane, for the box of mystery. We still got a couple things in there.
Box O mystery.
Box O mystery.
All right, our titillating 20 went over by a few minutes. So.
That's okay. We're okay with that.
What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, and being a Cancer horoscope sign, I am ruled by the moon.
You're going to say you're like a Cancer on society, and I was going to be
Wow.
like, Kurt,
Wow.
you're not a Cancer on
Thank you.
society.
Tonight we're talking about the moon and the mysteries surrounding the moon.
I didn't know you were a Cancer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like if you look up Cancer stuff, I'm like a textbook Cancer.
And I am not at all a Leo.
I'm
more of
Cancer people are nice and extremely insecure and all that. So
Leos are attention-seeking, center of attention people.
is that you?
No.
You're not are you a Leo?
I'm on the cusp of Leo and Virgo, and I'm much more Virgo.
Yeah, because you are not attention seeking.
No.
You're the opposite
I'm
of
the
attention
opposite.
seeking. But no, I am a typical Cancer. You look up Cancer traits, that's me.
Okay.
And
So what does that have to do with moon mysteries?
we are supposedly ruled by the moon.
Oh, okay.
The moon is supposedly our thing, which I get because I love the moon. I love
I do too, actually.
just looking at it. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, I used to go out in the field and just look at the stars, look at the moon.
Do you know
I
that
don't do that anymore because I'm basically in bed by the time the moon and stars are out.
my mom had never seen the man in the moon until I pointed it out to her and explained how to look for it?
I don't think I've ever seen the man in the moon.
Shut
No, I don't think I've heard about it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Kurt.
Yeah. No.
Okay, this is a new mission of mine. There, you have to
Well, it's
look
already
at
dark outside, so maybe we'll see it when we leave.
It's not too cloudy. But my mom was a grown adult. Probably in the last 10 years, I pointed out how to see the face of the man in the moon, and she was absolutely astounded by it.
I've never.
She's like, I always thought it was just like a phrase that people use. And I'm like, no, there's a face. You can see a face.
I've never.
I'm 100% showing this to you.
Okay.
Listeners, have you seen the man in the moon? Please
I
tell
mean,
me you
I've
have.
heard about it, but
Yeah,
I
no, it's
knew
a
it was
face that you can
I knew
see.
it was a thing, but I've never looked all the times
And he's
that I've
actually
looked at the
kind of
moon.
looking off to, I think, his left, our right, if I'm picturing it correctly in my head.
Okay, you'll have to show me sometime.
I will.
Because I have
If the moon's out on our way home and we can see it,
we're supposed to have snow coming, so it might cloud up.
Oh, true.
Hopefully
It's pretty clear right now.
we're home by that time.
Okay.
So, and the moon is fascinating because everybody knows where it is. Everybody
wonder
has
if-
seen it. Everybody.
Well, and I wonder if this is one of those episodes I'm going to go into saying, I don't know anything about these moon mysteries. And every time you say one, I'm going to be
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
And this is one of those episodes where we're going to cover a lot of crap in a little bit of time. So, and I was telling
like a mini
Krista, I was
mystery?
telling Krista on the way here that maybe I shouldn't do this because I could probably split these topics up in maybe like 2 or 3 separate shows rather than jamming
could
them
have
all
been
in one
our-
show.
I don't know if the microphone caught
No,
that,
but
but
my
it was awesome.
my stomach totally just. That sounded like a squatch. I told you I've been having stomach issues.
squatching.
I've been having stomach issues all day.
By the way, I'm really thrilled. Once again, I don't have a name off the. Is it April who's cross stitching
I think so.
Sasquatch for me? I'm super super jazzed about that though.
You want me to look?
Yes, I'm pretty sure this one stuck in my head because at first I thought it was this girl named Heather who I follow on Instagram, Heather and Stitches. She listens to the show and she commented on that too, but it wasn't her; it was someone else, and I thought it was April. Testing Krista's memory today.
Yes.
Sweet. Just gonna go with it because I had it right.
You did have. I thought it was April too.
Okay, good. Normally I can't remember who said what, and I go to bring it up and I sound like a dum-dum.
Yeah, you guys are awesome at posting stuff. There's the stuff, a lot of Bigfoot stuff.
A lot of pickle stuff.
I love the cat thing where you die, but your cat still want to meow you at 2 a.m. for food. Yes. I love the Don't Stop Believing shirt with Bigfoot riding Nessie with the cowboy hat from Tina.
I love it all.
Lots of pickle stuff. How it feels to listen to podcasts.
I love that one. It's true, though. It
Yeah.
really is true.
So thank you guys so much for making the Strangers group what it is. You guys seriously are awesome.
And
So
our
thank you.
podcast what it is. We would not have a podcast without anybody listening. It'd just be me and Kurt talking to each other in a room.
Exactly. Oh, and Stan Lee passing away.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Like, we've brought it up in other episodes that I'm not a superhero movie guy, but
No, me either, but I have mad respect for the guy.
I do too. He was in a couple Kevin Smith movies, so that's awesome.
And I am
right
a
there.
big Kevin Smith fan,
Yeah.
so.
But back to the moon.
But we digress.
We digress. Back to the moon. I believe this was suggested to us by Joe from the group, because that was when I was going to do something else.
Joe Weigert or something like that?
after
Okay.
bumping this, I was going to do something else, and then he said, you should do moon mysteries.
And then it started a big, long
And then a couple
thread.
other people are like, you really should. So this one's for you guys. Earth's moon is one of the most mysterious objects in our solar system. It has numerous physical qualities which scientists are unable to explain, and many scientists believe that it is incomparable. Is that the way to say it?
Incomparable?
Yeah. And many scientists believe that it is incomparable to any other moon found to date. The moon is so unique that Dr. Robert Jastrow, the first president of NASA's Commission of Lunar Exploration, called the moon, quote, the Rosetta Stone of the planets. And Robin Brett, a scientist from NASA, once stated, quote, it seems easier to explain the non-existence of the moon than its existence.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is Rosetta Stone again?
Rosetta Stone it was like the stone
Not the
tablet
language
that
learning
let them
software.
no, it was a stone it was a stone tablet that let them decipher I believe
right.
hieroglyphics. I
Okay.
actually saw it. It's in the museum in London.
Okay.
So I actually was there
Nice.
with just a piece of glass separating me from it.
Why didn't you loot it or something?
I should have tried stealing it.
Kurt.
Oh well.
Okay.
Next time.
I just wanted, in case people weren't familiar with what it was.
And it's also
beyond-
software for learning different
Beyond learning
languages.
Spanish.
Where we are L Strange Sessions.
What about La Strange Sessions?
Lay Strange Sessions is in France.
Strange Sessions?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I can't think of any
Da
other
Strange
off the top of my head.
Sessions. Dur.
So here's a couple interesting moon facts. The moon is a little more than 1/4 the size of Earth, another bizarre characteristic compared to any other natural satellite in our cosmic region. Of all the moons in the solar system, ours is the 5th largest. No other planet that we're aware of has a moon that is as proportionately big as ours. All other planets with moons that size are massive gas giants. Neptune, the closest in size with a moon that is big. Neptune, shush.
Sorry, the way that came out was really funny.
Neptune, the closest in size with a moon that big, is 4 times the size of Earth. Considering the Earth's size and magnetic field, it is quite unlikely to have a satellite at all, but if it were to have one, we could expect it to be something in the vicinity of 30 miles around.
Wow.
For instance, Mars' 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, I think it's Deimos or Deimos, have
You're
diameters of
asking the wrong person.
I know. Have diameters of 13 and 4 miles, respectively. Yet the moon's diameter is around 2,160 miles, bigger than Pluto, and more than 1/4 of the Earth's diameter. Without the moon orbiting exactly where it is, it's possible that life on Earth wouldn't exist, or at least wouldn't have evolved to the point that it has. In fact, it's estimated that less than 10% of all terrestrial planets in the universe have Earth-to-moon ratio like ours, which provides the stability that is necessary to maintain a climate that can harbor life.
It kind of gives the phrase, the stars align,
Yes,
a
totally.
whole new meaning.
Yep. All other moons in our solar system orbit their planets around the equator. Our moon does not, and it orbits Earth at an inclination of 5 degrees. The moon has a precise altitude, course, and speed, allowing it to function properly in regards to planet Earth. Simply put, the moon should not be where it is currently.
It's weird.
So, weird stuff. Mystery 1, the origin of the moon.
Okay.
In the 1800s, Charles Darwin's son George had an idea. He suggested that when the Earth was young, it rotated very quickly, and as a result, part of it flew off into space and formed the moon. The Pacific Ocean is supposedly the chunk that this fission came from. That was one of the first theories about what the moon was, that the Earth spun so fast that it spit out this chunk.
Okay.
And that's what the ocean is. That's what the
Okay.
Pacific Ocean is. Nobel Prize-winning chemist Harold Urey proposed instead that the moon came from another part of the galaxy and was pulled in by the Earth's gravity as it passed by. But both of these theories were disproven when samples of lunar rock and soil were examined. The fission theory didn't work because lunar rock samples showed that the moon was far older than the Pacific Ocean, which it was supposed to have come from. And the capture theory didn't work because the moon is almost chemically identical to the Earth. That would be unlikely if they formed far apart, as Yuri had suggested. So that's kind of... Because this is one of those things that, I mean, I had science classes, but before I did this, I had no idea if we knew where the moon came from, and it turns out we don't, really. We don't really know where the moon came from.
Or any of the planets?
I assumed that they just got caught in our gravitational field years and years ago, but it turns out it didn't. Because it said the odds of it being that chemically close to Earth are
but not coming from Earth.
Yeah. Another long-standing theory, and one that is currently being studied, is the belief that a large planetary body, which is usually called Theia, Theia, around the size of Mars, collided in a glancing blow with the Earth, knocking dust and rock off the intruding body into our orbit. According to this giant impact hypothesis, the loose dust and debris eventually formed the moon. But if the Theia hypothesis were correct, the moon's chemistry should be more different from Earth's. Is it possible that Theia had an almost exact match to Earth's chemistry? Computer simulations of the early solar system suggest that the probability of this happening is less than 1%. Recently, researchers at the Israel Institute of Technology performed a more detailed simulation of the objects buzzing around in the early solar system, and they found that the objects that impacted on planets were much more similar to those planets than previously expected. Instead of just a 1% chance of Theia and Earth being that similar, the odds were closer to 20%. So that's kind of one of the prevailing theories now.
Okay.
Basically that this Theia, and I'm not sure where they got the name for it, but this Theia collided just in a glancing blow with Earth, just enough to knock a bit of it off Theia, and that's
what's
what
remaining
formed the moon.
Is what knocked off. Okay. They said there's less than a 1% chance of that happening, though?
Yeah, but the new model showed that it was closer to 20% chance probability, but...
I feel like the fact that we even exist is like a less than 1% chance
exactly,
probability.
Exactly.
It's kind of crazy.
The current theory making the rounds is something called synestia, which basically says that the Earth was at one point totally different than what it is now. We collided with Theia, and the combined angular momentum of the two bodies basically vaporized the Earth and caused us to become a donut-shaped cloud of hot dust and liquid rotating around a molten core, which ended up spitting out the moon, and the Earth ended up condensing and cooling into the planet it is today. From what I was reading about this, it was that Theia, the body that hit us, was spinning, and we were also spinning, so the combined spinning of that hitting us is what vaporized the planet. And the planet vaporized into like this donut-shaped thing.
Oh, God, here come our flat Earth theories.
And a part of it spit out and became the moon, and then the planet cooled and condensed into the Earth that is now.
Like the donut hole?
Yeah, some of the diagrams I saw had it as a donut hole. Yeah, it's basically the moon is our donut hole.
I love it.
Then the
visual is just spectacular.
Yeah. And that's one of the theories. That's like the new popular theory making the rounds. But this is an entirely hypothetical premise. It's never been witnessed. It's just something that showed up possibly in computer simulations.
Okay.
So to this day, nobody knows where the moon came from. There are many theories, but as one of the researchers says, quote, "We are still missing something." So it's really interesting that there's no
definitive answer.
No definitive answer about it. And that's going to lead into mystery number 2. In 1962, NASA scientist Dr. Gordon MacDonald stated, quote, "If the astronomical data are reduced, it is found that the data require that the interior of the moon is more like a hollow than a solid sphere." And MIT's Dr. Shawn C. Solomon wrote, quote, "The lunar orbiter experiments vastly improved our knowledge of the moon's gravitational field, indicating the frightening possibility that the moon may be hollow."
Why is that frightening?
That is mystery number 2. Is the moon hollow/metallic?
Oh, okay.
And if so, why?
You're going to tell me why that's scary?
It is. It's scary because it shouldn't be hollow.
Oh, okay.
During several of the lunar landings, namely Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16, the astronauts installed seismometers, which are the devices that measure earthquakes, on the moon's surface and left them there so that we could regularly receive data about seismic activities on the moon. It was discovered that when a spent liftoff stage of the lunar module was sent crashing back down to the moon's surface as the astronauts left, it caused massive reverberations of the moon. In the March 1970 issue of Popular Science magazine, these reverberations were compared to the, quote, ringing of a bell, and it stated that these vibrations would last for up to an hour. According to Ken Johnson, supervisor of the Data and Photo Control Department, the moon not only rang like a bell, but the whole moon, quote, wobbled in such a precise way that it was almost as though it had a gigantic hydraulic damper strut inside of it. This led people to speculate that the moon might possibly be metallic and hollow.
Metallic?
Yep.
Okay.
Also in 1970, two Russian scientists, Michael Vaison and Alexander Scherbakov, published the Vaison-Scherbakov theory, which hypothesized that the moon is an artificial, hollowed-out satellite or spacecraft that had been placed in Earth's orbit by unknown beings. This became known as the Spaceship moon theory, and postulates that the moon is actually a generational spacecraft that traveled for thousands of years across space to either seed Earth with humans or that it was put into our orbit as a means to monitor us. So that's creepy.
So, like, there's some, under the surface, there's some kind of, 'cause it
Craft.
just looks like a big,
Yeah.
okay.
Some spaceship moon theorists believe that the moon is abandoned and is basically a derelict spaceship, while others believe that it is still habited and acts as a base, and that's where a majority of unidentified flying objects come from. And that makes a lot of sense, because these things probably, unless, they're bending space-time and all that stuff, probably couldn't come from, thousands of light years away. But if they're stationed on the moon, it's just a little pop down the road.
Skip, and a jump.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Often cited as proof that the moon is metallic and artificial is the way that impact craters are formed on the moon. Craters are thought to be the result of meteorite and asteroid impacts, meaning that there should be a certain proportion between their depth and width. Instead, many wider craters have similar depths to significantly narrow craters.
So couldn't things like gravity and other stuff impact
Possibly, but
that sort of
I
thing?
get where they're coming from, that a bigger asteroid should hit and penetrate deeper.
Sure.
Instead, they're saying that
It's wider than it is deep.
yeah, instead they're saying all of these basically go to the same depth.
Like there's some kind
Yeah.
of core.
Even the largest craters were strangely shallow and wide, suggesting that there may be some sort of solid and impenetrable hull beneath the relatively few feet of surface rock and dust that causes incoming meteorites to flatten out and spread out as they hit this hull. And I mean, to me, that makes sense, that if there's like a metallic
Something
outside,
harder.
that everything that hits it is going to flatten out. That
Right.
that bigger asteroids aren't going to go
That makes sense.
deeper into the surface.
They're going to spread
I thought
out.
that was really interesting. But I also don't know enough about asteroid
Physics.
impacts to know if,
Right.
if that's a thing or not. It's also interesting to note that some moon rocks have been discovered to be much older than rocks on the Earth, even though both were apparently formed during the same period. Hollow moon theorists claim this is further proof that the moon was constructed elsewhere and brought here by an alien race. Also, by some reports, there are some lunar rocks that have been found to contain processed metals such as brass. Also, the elements of uranium-236 and neptunium-237 that have never been found to occur naturally have been found existing on the moon. Uranium-236 is a radioactive nuclear waste which is found in spent nuclear and reprocessed uranium. Neptunium-237 is a radioactive metallic element and a byproduct of nuclear reactors and the production of plutonium. So these shouldn't exist
Right.
unless something made them.
Man-made.
Man-made.
Okay.
Lunar rocks have also been found to contain 10 times more titanium than titanium-rich rocks on planet Earth. Dr. Harold Urey, Nobel Prize winner for chemistry, said he was terribly puzzled by the rocks astronauts found on the moon and their unusually high titanium content.
Couldn't they have just been traveling through space and ended up there?
Possibly.
I don't know how
Possibly.
that stuff works, but
But
doesn't mean they originated on the moon.
Scientists today state that there is no evidence whatsoever to suggest that the moon is hollow, but this shows up a lot when you search for moon theories. And I've always liked this theory. I'm not saying I 100% buy it, but I've always liked this theory that the moon is, to me, it's always been that the moon is an artificial thing. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, really, but I have always liked the idea that the moon is an artificial thing that was placed where it was placed on purpose in order to help life advance on this planet. That something put it there. Like basically we're
Something extraterrestrial.
an ant farm and somebody put that there in order to make
us
sure
a
that
solid.
they had to do us a solid, as Krista says.
That's nice.
But, and this is one of those things where, like, the people that say it's hollow post all this stuff, and the people that say it's not post all this counter stuff, and it's just a go back and forth thing between hollow moon people and non-hollow moon people.
Okay, so what we need is that drilling team from Armageddon to go land on the moon.
Bruce Willis.
Find one of those craters, get to the bottom, start drilling, see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I like the idea that the moon is hollow, that the moon's a craft or a construction.
I've never heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's actually a big one.
I've heard about the whole other side of the moon, the dark side of the moon.
Yeah.
Is some kind of, base, alien base or something.
But when you think about the fact that the moon shouldn't be where it is, that we shouldn't have a moon
That's
like
peculiar.
that, it makes sense that something purposely...
This is the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, that something purposely put the moon there in order to... Like, if the moon wasn't here, we would be a hot mess.
Right.
I
feel like there are so many things that exist, though, that just seem like they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Just that's how life kind of
Yeah, because if something has a 1 in a million chance of happening, it could still happen.
Exactly.
So it's very possible, It's just I'm just going to go on record and say I buy the idea that the moon isn't what we think it is.
Okay.
And suggesting that the moon is hollow leads to mystery number 3, which is, of course...
Are you waiting for me to answer this question?
What's always one of our things?
Aliens.
Yes.
Not
Bigfoot. You're going to say Bigfoot.
It's not Bigfoot.
I don't know. A hollow ass.
Bigfoot has been associated with aliens.
A hollow moon piloted by Bigfoots would be badass.
That's a t-shirt waiting to happen.
That's a t-shirt waiting to happen. And this is something that comes up quite a bit. During the Apollo 11 moon landing, there was a 2-minute period of radio silence. According to NASA, the problem arose from one of 2 television cameras overheating, thus disrupting the reception. Ham operators receiving the VHF signals directly from Apollo 11 supposedly picked up the following message, which was screened by NASA from the public. And you're going to see this a lot. There's actually 2 different ones, so I went with the shorter one. But you're going to see this a lot. That supposedly, during that silence, what you heard was this.
Are you going to use like some kind of weird robot-y voice to say it? Oh.
Mission Control is saying, "What's there?" Mission Control calling Apollo 11. And Apollo 11 responds, "These babies are huge, sir. Enormous. Oh God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecraft up here, lined up on the far side of the crater edge. They're on the moon watching us."
Okay, I have heard this.
Yeah. And there's another one that goes into more depth.
That gives you the chills a little bit.
Yeah, it does. And you're going to see this a lot. You're going to see this when you do a Google search on moon aliens or weird things about the moon. You're going to see this a lot.
Okay.
According to most accounts, this isn't true, that this was fabricated. According to NASA, they never say Mission Control. They always say Houston. And this has them saying Mission Control. I don't know if that's a deal breaker, but that's one of the arguments against this. But
I'd be really curious. Well, so a ham radio, is that something people could have recorded?
Yeah, but back then, I don't know if people had the capability to record ham radio.
Okay.
In 1979, Maurice Chaitlane, former chief of NASA Communications System, confirmed that Armstrong had indeed reported seeing 2 UFOs on the rim of a crater. Quote, "The encounter was common knowledge at NASA," he revealed, "but nobody has talked about it until now." But although he is usually identified as a, quote, former NASA chief of communications, especially by ufologists, other sources claim that he was merely a low-level engineer who worked for a NASA subcontractor. According to some reports, Soviet scientists were allegedly the first to confirm the incident. Quote, "According to our information, the encounter was reported immediately after the landing of the module," said Dr. Vladimir Azaza, a physicist and professor of mathematics at Moscow University, no relation to Zozo.
Zozo. Zozo.
And he went on to say, quote, "Neil Armstrong relayed the message to Mission Control that 2 large, mysterious objects were watching them after having landed near the moon module, but his message was never heard by the public because NASA censored it." According to another Soviet scientist, Dr. Alexander Kazantsev, Buzz Aldrin took color movie film of the UFOs from inside the module and continued filming them after he and Armstrong went outside. Dr. Azaza claims that the UFO departed minutes after the astronauts came out onto the lunar surface. There's that, but tracking down these scientists has proved unsuccessful. They can't find trace that these scientists exist. And it's believed that these stories first emanated from the National Enquirer.
Oh, well.
Which is not a bastion.
Can't put anything in there that isn't true.
It's not a bastion of factuality.
Right.
So, and I found that the National Enquirer was the one that broke the story of these Soviet scientists saying that. So that kind of puts a little damper on that whole
A little bit. It's
shindig.
like almost like The Onion, if The Onion published it too.
The Onion's so much better.
But equally as fake.
Also, interviews with a handful of amateur radio listeners who are known to have tuned into the S-band moon signals produced testimony that they heard the same exact conversations which were released by NASA. So basically, debunking that didn't happen. On Apollo 8, following the first trans-Earth injection, when the crew came back into contact with Houston, astronaut Jim Lovell said, quote, "Please be informed there is a Santa Claus." A lot of people believe that Santa Claus is a NASA code word for UFO. Oh. And you're going to come across this a lot online. Okay. A lot of people say when he said, "Please be informed there is a Santa Claus," that was his way of telling NASA that there was a UFO.
Believe in the unbelievable kind of thing.
I don't buy that. That's one of the things that are given as proof that we saw aliens with the moon landings. But, my thing with that is if you're working at NASA, chances are you have an IQ in the triple digits. I mean, you're pretty smart. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to use something that's just as weird as saying a UFO to say that you saw it. You would make up some technical thing saying, "Oh, we have a differential in the gyroscope," something that people aren't going to grasp onto. Would be like, why didn't you just say, it was around Christmas time when this happened, so they think that he was just being cute, saying, "Oh, Santa Claus is up here."
And you would think that they had already had code language figured out.
Oh, yeah.
If they ever had to communicate something like that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be making it up on the fly.
But there's a lot of people that believe him saying that "please be informed there is a Santa Claus" means that they did see a UFO. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I think he was probably just doing those one for the kids.
Yeah.
Hey guys, totally I spotted Santa Claus over Canada at 9:02 p.m.
So a lot of that, when you look up stuff about aliens on the moon, these are like the first things that come up, and I just not
poo all over it.
Yeah.
Poo.
Yeah, and it's researching this is hard because I'm not a skeptic. I mean, I believe in a lot of paranormal or unexplainable things. I mean, you know that. Yeah. But it's just that some people pick and choose what facts they want to put out there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I feel like this is one of those things that you and I do not have the capability to investigate ourselves. It's the moon. Mm-hmm. We're not going into space anytime soon. We don't have access to the tools and things we need to investigate any of this. Like, we can go to a haunted location and do an investigation. It's a totally different ballgame.
But, like the whole thing where people say that these Soviet astronauts or these Soviet scientists said, no, they saw no, people don't back research it enough to see that it came from the National Enquirer. They just see that and they're like, oh, that's got to be gospel.
Right.
So I don't know.
They found it on the internet. It has to be true.
Exactly. But there were things that were seen that they couldn't explain. In his book, Return to Earth, Colonel Edwin E. Aldrin Jr. writes the following. Quote, "In the middle of one evening, Houston time, I found myself idly staring out the window of the Columbia and saw something that looked a bit unusual. It appeared brighter than any star and not quite the pinpoints of light that stars usually are. I pointed this out to Mike and Neil, and the three of us were beset with curiosity. With the help of a binocular, we guessed that whatever the object was, it was only 100 or so miles away. Looking at it through our sextant, we found it occasionally formed a cylinder."
They looked at it through what?
A sextant. That's like a...
you know me.
I know. Perv. "We found it occasionally formed a cylinder, but when the sextant's focus was adjusted, it had sort of an illuminated L shape to it. It had a shape of some sort. We all agreed on that, but exactly what it was we couldn't pin down. We asked Houston a couple casual questions like, how far away is the Saturn third stage? The response was that it was in the vicinity of 6,000 miles away, so that wasn't it. It could possibly have been one of the panels of the Saturn third stage which fly off to expose the LM and could not be traced from Earth. We could see it for about 45 seconds at a time when the ship rotated, and we watched it on and off for about an hour. We debated whether or not to tell the ground we had spotted something and decided against it. Our reason was simple. The UFO people would descend on the message in hordes, setting off another rash of UFO sightings back on Earth. We concluded that it was most likely off the panels. Its course appeared in no way to conflict with ours, and it presented no danger, so we dropped the matter there. So they did see something, but that's not really conclusive.
Right.
And of course, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, an Apollo 14 astronaut, several times expressed his views that he was sure that most UFOs spotted are indeed visitors from another world. You see him on a lot of UFO shows and stuff like that.
Well, and there are so many accounts, not from former, astronauts, but pilots.
Yeah.
Military and commercial pilots who have seen things that they cannot explain.
Yeah.
And they know what's up in the air. They're used to seeing other things up in the air, and these are crafts that, that they can't explain.
Yep.
And to me, there's some merit to that.
But I like the fact that they purposely didn't to announce it to mission control, because they knew the UFO people would go nuts hearing that they saw something like that. And it's true. I mean, they would have.
That's an interesting point, because on these UFO shows, you hear the radio communication between the pilot of the plane saying, hey, I just saw, a bogey off of blah, blah, blah that I can't explain. Or, they'll come right out and say, I think I just saw a UFO. And those things get leaked to shows.
Yep, exactly.
Like, not Ancient Aliens, of course, but,
Exactly. So that's UFOs seen on the moon by astronauts. I'm really not buying any of that.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Unless somebody comes up with a photo, and then we'll just say that it was Photoshopped.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is, again, one of those things that we can't see for our own eyes.
No.
So it's hard to believe.
Yeah. And just because that I'm skeptical about this, I think, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think there's weird stuff on the moon. I think there's weirdness with the moon, and aliens could be there, but I think that the things that people are putting on the internet as gospel aren't true.
Right. Are you going to get to this? But isn't there a rock formation on the moon that looks like an alien face?
Next. No, that's actually Mars.
Oh, is it Mars?
I think so.
I'm getting my
but
planets
you're
mixed up.
getting a little bit ahead.
Okay.
And that brings us to mystery number 4, lunar anomalies. As far back as the late 1700s, astronomers peering through telescopes have reported strange lights and shadows on the surface of the moon, some showing apparent movement across the lunar terrain. In 1847, for example, quote, luminous points of light were observed on the moon during an eclipse when the entire moon is covered in Earth's shadow. Many astronomers have observed strange lights and craters that seem to move and change formations as if under intelligent control. Astronomer W.H. Pickering, discoverer of the ninth moon of Saturn, observed certain peculiar dark areas that seem to move across the floor inside the crater Eratosthenes. He eventually began to wonder if what he was witnessing might be migrating life forms. Risking his reputation, Pickering reported 20 miles of movement in a 12-day period inside that one crater. I love this next one, actually. August of 1835, the world was treated to a fantastic story of scientific discoveries by the famous British astronomer Sir John Herschel, who claimed to have created a telescope that could greatly magnify what was on the moon due to the addition of a, quote, hydro-oxygen microscope that was built onto the telescope. Readers of the New York Sun were shocked by stories written by Herschel's assistant, Andrew Grant, about creatures spotted living on the moon, which included unicorns, strange humanoid bat creatures, blue goats, and beavers that walked around on 2 legs. The problem with this was that there was no Andrew Grant, and what became known as the Great Moon Hoax was apparently a joke created by one of the newspaper's writers. And I love this next part. Herschel, who was actually doing research in South Africa, was reading the articles, but was not able to respond quickly to deny the claims. Oh, so he had to be just reading these every day,
livid.
like, oh my God, my career is done. So that was a big hoax. And that kind of got people started on thinking that there were things on the moon, because a lot of people bought into this at first.
My favorite is the beavers that walk up.
Oh, yeah. I think that's cute. I wish there were beavers that walked around 2 legs. And unicorns. Got to have the unicorns.
The bat-like things can stay there.
Yeah, maybe that's what Mothman is. Maybe he just traveled. Maybe this is his summer home. I don't know.
Summer home.
Strange things have been seen on the moon for centuries, usually flashes of light or color, or lights that appear to move across the lunar surface. These are known as transient lunar phenomena, or TLP, and many of the reports dating from 1540 to 1969 have been cataloged by NASA. Such flashes of light and color could be attributed to meteor impacts or perhaps some kind of gaseous emissions, but there are also sightings of something called, quote, fast walkers, which are shadows or objects that are seen or filmed crossing the lunar surface. And if you look for these on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of, and some of them are really interesting.
Are they like straight from NASA? Like where are people
like
getting them?
people watching the moon,
Through
people
telescopes?
recording the moon through telescopes and stuff.
Okay.
A lot of these are really interesting, where you see something. It could be some people think it's a satellite getting between us
Right, a
and
shadow,
the moon,
an actual
but
shadow.
they see the shadow of something going across the moon.
Okay.
Fast walker is a term coined by NORAD, North American Air Defense Command, to categorize objects that approach from space, enter our atmosphere, maneuver strangely, and then leave the atmosphere again in a manner that is not consistent with any known crafts or phenomena.
Like the thing that you posted in our strangers group? BDC said it looked like a big joint.
Oh, that
Space turd, whatever it is.
That was, I can't remember what it was called, onomatopoeia or something like
Something.
that they thought it was like an alien craft. Mm-hmm. That was actually interesting.
Because
I've been following that story.
the trajectory of it
Yeah.
didn't seem natural.
Astronauts since the first moon landing by Apollo 11 have reported sightings of flashing lights on the moon's surface. What's even stranger about it is that they have reported these flashes even when their eyes are closed. An astronaut named Charles Duke shared his experience with this, saying, quote, "I'm having these light flashes. I'm seeing this like light flashing in my eyeballs." Astronauts who have encountered the lights would describe it as white flashes, but there are others that have reported back after encountering the lights different colors such as blue and yellow. And in almost all instances, after they have come back home to Earth, astronauts who have seen these lights will still see them flashing under various conditions on Earth. These lights remained a mystery for years, and then it was theorized that the lights were perhaps a visual effect caused by cosmic rays. To test this theory, engineers put together an experiment involving a black box that could be worn as a helmet. The box would have sensors that could detect the presence of cosmic rays. Astronaut Charles Duke wore the helmet on his next mission, and when he radioed back seeing clusters of light and white streaks, the box detected a high presence of cosmic rays in his environment. So a lot of you'll do searches on the internet, you're going to find a lot of reports of astronauts seeing these strange lights and then still seeing them when they close their eyes.
That's
and that's
explained.
pretty much been explained away. Also, I think I've always thought this has been super fascinating, that there's a lot of people that believe there are structures on the moon. When you look this up, the first one that you're going to usually come across is something called the Shard. I am going to have these pictures all posted in the... I don't know if I'm going to post them in both the Strangers and on the Strange Sessions page. I'll probably do that. But these will be in the Strangers group and on the Strange Sessions page, so you can look to see what we're talking about. The first one is called the Shard, and that usually shows up as the first thing. I mean, when you look at the picture, you can see that thing that looks like an X or a star or something. Yeah. That's actually the camera. That's actually the camera taking that picture. But it's the object below that is sticking up from the moon's surface that people are fascinated with.
You can see a shadow too.
Yep. The Shard is a large object sticking out from the moon's surface in a photo snapped by the Lunar Orbiter, and it has been nicknamed the Shard by UFO researcher Richard C. Hoagland. The strange structure, if that's indeed what it is, would be enormous, at least 7 miles high by Hoagland's calculations. Skeptics say that it's actually a defect caused by liquids dripping on the film during developing, but people counter that by pointing out that the Shard has a visible shadow, which it does.
Yeah. It doesn't look solid to me, though.
No, and it's weird. It looks like somebody described it as a bowling pin. I
don't see that.
No, I think it looks phallic, if you know where I'm going with that.
Sure.
Yeah. But
I think it looks like smoke almost, or some kind of vapor. You know, it doesn't look like a solid
That is one
thing.
of the theories, is that it's a vaporous emission from the surface of the moon, but then people say it shouldn't have a shadow. And
Does the moon give off vaporous emissions?
Supposedly.
Oh, okay.
But it wouldn't have a shadow unless it was a solid...
Well, but clouds have shadows.
Possibly.
No, they do.
I don't know. I had to actually
not
think.
a question.
I had to
They
actually
do.
think about that.
They have shadows. You can see them floating, across the surface of the Earth.
But I don't know what I think of this. I mean, if it was like a tower, I could see, but it looks
It's
way too
it's so
misshapen.
grainy and
Yeah.
When was this taken? Do we know where it was? Can somebody take a better photo? I feel like this is just a poor quality.
It is. I mean, it's a blow
Is
up.
this even the moon? Like, I can't even
it's
tell.
It's a blown up section of a picture of the moon.
It's super pixelated and.
But this always shows up as
blurry.
one of the big proofs that there are structures on the moon, and that is the shard.
I'm not impressed.
No, another one that I thought was this one I don't think is super interesting, but this is the picture of something called the castle. Click on that. It should be in your folder. Moonpics. So that's the castle.
Of course, everything's like super hard to
Grainy
see
and-
and
yeah,
black and white,
yeah.
and it looks like a weird rock formation,
It does.
like
the castle.
stalactites, or you know what I mean.
The castle is a tall structure which is said to stand at least 9 miles high, consisting of many pillars and spires, thus creating the image of a castle. The castle was discovered in the Apollo 10 frame 4822.
I mean, we have a lot of really strange-looking rock formations on the Earth.
Yep.
It's just a natural thing that happens via erosion, although that's not raining on the moon. But
Yeah. But a lot of people believe that
wind,
this is
I don't know.
A lot of people believe this is a castle-like structure. I don't know what I think.
If by castle you mean that thing that you put in your fish tank that looks like
It does look like
coral,
yeah.
that's I don't know. Again, not impressed.
No. Next one, and this one I like. This one is really interesting. Go to the one called Pyramid Moon 2.
Okay.
This one is called Geophone Rock. During Apollo 17, the astronauts filmed in the Taurus Littrow Valley of the Moon. For 30 years, NASA classified one particular image as being a blank frame from the Apollo 17 film, but looking at that frame, you can see a structure that greatly resembles a pyramid.
I mean, it looks just like a pyramid.
It does look just like a pyramid. Could it be a lens flare or something technical? The only thing that the astronauts snapped was the LVR, their vehicle, under peculiar light conditions. So they're wondering if this isn't a part of
it could be.
of their vehicle. But a lot of people say that this shows a pyramid on the moon.
It looks like a pyramid.
It does
But
look
I
like
would
a
like to
pyramid, but
see-
it could be a part.
Sure, I'd like to scrutinize photos of the vehicle.
It could be a part of the vehicle that they were on, that they were just happened to shoot it at, pointing the camera down instead of out at the landscape, and this is a part of the ship that juts
Right.
out like that. But a lot of people say that this is proof that there are structures on the moon and that this was a pyramid that NASA forgot to take out of the photos.
Sure. That forgetful NASA.
Now, this next one, I actually think is cool. I actually kind of like this one. It is the one called Phoenix Lights.
It's shaped like
It's a mysterious triangular wedge-shaped object that people either believe is the opening to an underground base with lights on the side to guide ships in, or it's a craft that appears to be triangular and has a light pattern very similar to the one seen on the craft in the Phoenix Lights UFO sighting. And this one, I think, is...
I mean, it doesn't look natural at all.
No, this is one of the ones that I was actually like, that's actually...
I mean, you can see 1, 2, 3 lights on each side, and then one in the center.
I mean, it's symmetrical. It looks like what people believe the crafts in the Phoenix Light UFO sighting look like. So this one actually kind of makes
That's interesting.
Yeah, this one actually is kind of like,
stands out against the rest of the environment. It's very
assuming
unnatural
this is the actual untouched photo,
right?
Which who knows?
Hard to
but
say.
a lot of people say that a lot of people originally thought that this was an opening into an underground base. But after the Phoenix Lights sightings, people were like, wow, that looks exactly like the ships that people think that they saw. So this one, I'm not going to brush off right away. This one I think is kind of interesting.
It's intriguing.
Other mysterious objects, such as the Lunar Cylinder, which is like a cylindrical looking piece of like rock or cement that looks like it was manufactured, was on the moon. The Lunar 13 artifact, which seemed to be a drill bit or a screw. It looked like a manufactured drill bit or screw on the moon.
Like huge though? Like how did they zoom in on something that small?
I don't know. It must
Okay.
have been in a photo. But there's a bunch of other photos, and going through the photos that I put on our Facebook group, go to the one called Humanoid.
Okay.
Somebody said that looks like...
That's weird.
It's weird because I didn't realize until after I was reading about it that people speculate it's somebody walking away from the camera, and the darkness behind them is their shadow on the surface of the moon. Because I saw it as somebody walking towards us, but I can see what they're saying where it looks
really
like a
long
person
legs. Yeah.
walking across.
Their shadow
That
behind them.
is interesting. Don't know what to
Very
make of that one.
strange. Yeah.
And you go to the one Mega Cube, which sounds like a bad Atari 2600 game, shows a cube-looking
Cube.
thing on top of a pyramid-looking thing,
Yeah.
which, I don't know.
It's very square.
It is very square, and people say that it looks like a sculpture or
What's that big round thing on the left?
something called the tower, that they think that that's another
Interesting.
object sticking out, like a building sticking out from the moon.
Everything's just so grainy and
I know, but they had to go.
and-
They had to zoom in how many times?
Sure.
So that's
I want to see some recent. We have the technology now to take really detailed photos of the surface of the moon. Where are those pictures?
There's the one called Ribbed.
Okay. For her pleasure.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that. How did I know you were going to say that?
Because we've met.
This one was actually in the news a few months ago in August of 2018 when UFO hunter Scott C. Waring accused NASA of deleting images of the moon that showed a series of strange ribbed tube-like structures on the surface of the moon.
Of course.
Waring says of the structures, quote, "I don't think they are structures to live in, but probably have a purpose like air or breathing filtration or collecting of energy or even as a transmitting antenna." Waring also claims to have discovered an alien city within the Rainier crater on the moon, saying that, quote, "At the center of the city is a glowing orb. The city is made of massive black tunnels that move in every direction, but they vary in size from 2 kilometers wide to a few hundred meters wide. Below this mass of black structures is more of the city, which is sealed underground. Skeptics say that the rib structures were most likely a photography glitch."
Yeah, because I look at that and it has the look of like some kind of a flare.
Yeah,
or
it looks like something.
a piece of hair that got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think that's a structure.
Hair that mistakenly floats into
Yeah, like
a
a floater,
photo
like-
with a flash has that characteristic to it. That looks like a hair follicle.
So I'm not buying the rib for her pleasure
No.
devices on the moon.
No, that doesn't look real to me.
Nope. And then you go to Robot Head, which was in the news, I think a couple years back. I remember this, where somebody zoomed in and saw what they say is a robot head.
Oh, yeah. That's creepy, actually.
It's creepy, but I think it's just a rock.
I think it's just a rock with, the right angle
Yep.
of sunlight and
Yep.
shadow.
But that
it
is
looks
the-
like a skull to me.
Yeah, but that is the robot.
Skeletor.
That is the robot head.
Okay.
And then there's Satellite Dish, which is intriguing,
That looks like a satellite dish.
but somebody said they speculate that it is a crater
Sure.
on the side of a crater.
Okay.
That black spot you're seeing towards the top is actually a hole on that side of the crater, but it's giving like this false 3D look, like it's sticking up like a radio antenna. So you're going to
I
see this.
believe that.
You're going to see this one a lot when you look up structures on the moon.
Okay.
And lastly, we come to tracks. I remember seeing this one years ago,
Oh,
where
yeah.
there's that thing in the middle that looks like it is,
That's weird.
but could it have been a piece of an asteroid or something that landed on the moon and then rolled?
Because it looks like there's a long,
Yeah.
straight shadow.
Yeah. And people are saying it looks like this thing purposely went this route in order to divert from like that crater and a hill and stuff. This one, I'm going to put this one
That's
with
odd.
the Phoenix Lights one because I think this one is interesting. I really do.
And it's actually a halfway decent quality photo.
Yeah, but it looks like it's something moving across the surface of the moon, leaving tracks on the moon. But could it have just been a piece of an asteroid that hit the moon and then rolled a little bit? I don't know.
Zooming in on my...
I don't know. But this one and the
It almost
Phoenix...
looks like chain, too. Like chain
Yeah.
link.
This one and the Phoenix Lights one, I think, are both intriguing. The rest, I'm not really into.
Well, and do you see... So if you're looking at this photo, there's like the thing that looks like tracks or train, and then off to the right, there's another line that's less defined. Do you see that?
No.
Let me show you. gotta zoom in. How do you zoom in? I just noticed it when I zoomed in. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
That's strange.
That is strange. That almost looks like a track of some kind too. I did not notice that. I did not zoom in like that. But yeah, I think this one and the Phoenix Lights ones are interesting. The rest I kind of write off as,
blurry
pareidolia or zooming in so much on something that you lose basically everything.
And you can pretty much call it anything at that point.
Yep.
Cool.
So yeah, those are some of the ones that when you do a search on structures on the moon, you'll come across. Some are better than others, but make of it what you will.
Oh, we will.
One of the newer interesting things was something called a lunar wave. A user going by the name of Crow777 has filmed some astonishing footage of the moon. He caught something which he named the, quote, lunar wave going across the surface of the moon from bottom to top as it appeared on his camera. This lunar wave has the appearance of a line, like the line that moves across a computer screen during a reset. It looks digital, electronic, or holographic. Skeptics and naysayers have criticized his findings and claim the lunar wave is just a result of his recording equipment, and not just local to the moon itself. But in some of his videos, Crow shows that by adjusting the various layers, colors, and lighting, you can see that the wave actually occurs on or just above the moon's surface and has nothing to do with his camera.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and I looked, and it looks like basically what it says, where it's really subtle, but he says, he'll tell you in the video, he'll say, now, it's coming right now, and you'll see this line that like goes down across the moon, surface of the moon, looking like a scan line, like in a photograph or something weird like that. But a lot of people say that's just a camera thing and that's not actually happening.
What's this? Does he have a theory behind it?
No.
Okay.
No, but other people say that
like
it looks...
the moon is a hologram or something?
That's, people that really buy into this say that it's further proof that we're living in a computer simulation, which you all know I like that idea. Mm-hmm. But looking at the videos and stuff, I'm not really sold on it. But if you do a search on YouTube for lunar wave, you'll find videos of this, and it's interesting. It's worth checking out.
Does more than one person have a video of it?
I don't know. The only ones that I saw, I think he did, but I think other people have linked to his. So if you check out the lunar wave videos, let me know what you think. Like I said, it's really subtle, so don't expect anything mind blowing, but it is kind of strange.
Okay.
And then this also shows up on UFO shows like NASA Unexplained Files and all that. In 2013, a woman named Donna Hare released a video talking about how she was a member of a team contracted by NASA in the 70s and that she saw photographs taken of the lunar surface displayed in a restricted area, some of which a NASA employee pointed out had images of structures and UFOs on the moon, and his job was to remove these items from the photos before they were released to the public. She claims that thousands of photographs of strange things on the moon have been altered and airbrushed. She also said, quote, "They didn't threaten to kill me, but I got the message I shouldn't talk about it." And you'll see videos of her a lot in these UFO shows saying that it's a common practice to airbrush things out on the moon that they don't want the public seeing.
It's so strange. Why, though?
I don't know. They don't want us to know.
Freak out or what?
To freak out, I guess.
Okay.
That's the only theory. But yeah, that's what I got for...
The thing is, I feel like there are enough people out there who have enough money to buy the equipment to just look for themselves.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. And we didn't even delve into whether or not we landed on the moon because I think that might be a whole separate...
Whole episode.
That's going to be a whole episode on its own.
Conspiracy theory.
Yep, that is going to be a whole episode on its own. But that's what I got for weird things. I've always been fascinated with the structures on the moon.
I think it's interesting. I just don't see the data or proof of that any of this is that there's anything to it at all. I think the information surrounding the fact that it just shouldn't exist in the first place is way more interesting than any of these photos or anything like that.
Yeah. All of this leads to one overall theory, and that theory is the belief that we haven't gone back to the moon because we were warned to stay off of it by aliens. Some theorists believe that the aliens are mining resources from the moon and that the majority of UFOs seen here on Earth have come from the moon. When do you think the last time is we walked on the moon? Did you know this?
No.
Take a guess. Last time we visited the moon?
In the 70s?
It's 1972. Everybody says, why haven't we gone back? And that feeds the whole...
It is odd.
That feeds the whole aliens.
We certainly...
Yeah, because people said, wouldn't it be easier to have a base on the moon
rather than have a space station?
Yeah.
And it's not like we've discovered everything there is to discover about the moon. But we always want to be reaching further and further.
So that seems to be the one overarching question in all this is why haven't we gone back to the moon?
I guess we have limited resources.
And the reason that people give is they said no one has gone back because it's expensive, it's dangerous, and the priority for the first moon landings were beating Russia there, not on building a clear path for future trips, which I totally get.
And we have
because we wanted to win the space race.
Well, we have other places we want to explore.
Yep. But groups like SpaceX and even Google have future moon landings in their sights. So there is a possibility that we'll be going back there, assuming we weren't warned off by aliens and told not to go to the moon. But what's interesting is I remember as a younger kid, I want to say 70s, 80s, reading accounts that a lot of people say that they see equipment on the moon, drilling equipment, like abandoned drilling equipment, and they think that... And then when I read this, that they believe that aliens are mining resources from the moon, that kind of, went with what I remember reading as a kid, that a lot of people say they see what looks like drilling equipment on the moon.
Do you think that they would have equipment that looked like our...
That's the thing.
They have more high-tech
That's the thing. Who
equipment?
knows? I doubt it. But, so that's one of the theories, that we have not gone back to the moon because we were told specifically not to. Because there's aliens there.
Because the aliens said, get off my lawn.
Yep. So I'll end this with a quote from science writer William Roy Sheldon, who says, quote, just as an Apollo spacecraft circling the Earth every 90 minutes, while 160 kilometers high, has to have a velocity of 29,000 kilometers per hour to stay in orbit, so something has to give the moon the precisely required velocity for its weight and altitude. The point, and it is one seldom noted in considering the origin of the moon, is that it is extremely unlikely that any object would just stumble into the right combination of factors required to stay in orbit. Something had to put the moon at that altitude, on its course, and at its speed. The big question is, what was that something?
Can you say that about Earth, though?
Possibly. He could say that
any planet that orbits around another planet.
Yeah, but
not
specifically
planet, but
our moon should not exist. And it should not exist like it does. It should not exist where it does, which all leads to the fact that it shouldn't be there. And it seems like something put it there, specifically put it there. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it was aliens parking there and joyriding to Earth, or if it was something that was put there in order to facilitate us to exist on this planet. So just something to think about. It's interesting. It's something that we take for granted because we see it all the time. But the moon is strange.
Yeah, and necessary.
Yeah.
To survival.
So, lastly, and I thought this was really interesting, things that we have left on the moon. Here we go.
Oh.
The wreckage or pieces of at least 70 spacecraft, 6 American flags, 3 moon buggies, 12 pairs of boots, 12 video cameras, 2 golf balls, backpacks, several empty packages of space food, a patch from the never-launched Apollo 1 mission, which ended prematurely when flames engulfed the command module during a 1967 training exercise, killing 3 U.S. astronauts, a gold-plated telescope designed by Dr. George Carruthers, and the only telescope to make observations from the surface of another planetary body, several various hammers, tongs, rakes, and shovels, a small disc bearing goodwill messages from 73 world leaders and left on the moon by the crew of Apollo 11, a small urn containing the ashes of Eugene Shoemaker, the famed planetary geologist who during his life dreamt of going to the moon, a feather from Bagan, the Air Force Academy's mascot falcon, used to conduct Apollo 15's hammer and feather drop experiment, a silver pin left by Apollo 12 astronaut Alan Bean, a medal honoring Soviet cosmonauts Vladimir Komarov and Yuri Gagarin, a cast gold and olive branch left by the crew of Apollo 11, a small aluminum sculpture that was smuggled aboard by astronaut David Scott and was left as a memorial to fallen astronauts and cosmonauts, a photograph that Charles Duke of the Apollo 16 mission left of himself and his family, 96 packets of human feces, urine, and vomit. And finally, during the 1960s...
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's what they did with all their poop and pee.
They just left it on the moon.
Just left it on the moon. It's just hanging out up there. And finally, during the 1960s, sculptor Forrest Myers had the idea to get 6 artists to collaborate on a tiny piece of artwork that would be left on the moon, and recruited some big names to draw tiny sketches for a piece called Moon Museum. The designs were shrunken down and etched onto a tiny ceramic wafer by scientists at Bell Labs. Myers was unable to convince NASA to go along with the plan, so he convinced an engineer working on the Apollo 12 module to hide the wafer in the gold blanket that surrounds its lower sections. The engineer smuggled the wafer aboard, and 2 days after Apollo 12 landed, it left the moon, discarding the module and letting it crash down onto the lunar surface. The designs on the Moon Museum piece include a straight line by artist Robert Rauschenberg, a Mickey Mouse-like drawing by Claes Oldenburg, and a stylized sketch of Andy Warhol's initials that looks suspiciously like a penis. And it does. If you look at the pictures of this, so that is on the moon.
Is that all just from us,
Yeah.
like U.S.?
Yeah, I think that's from
Anyone
much,
who's
yeah.
visited the moon?
Yeah.
We're a bunch of litter bugs.
We are. And I love
That's
that.
terrible.
I love the Andy Warhol thing that, you know, when we take our first step onto another planetary body, we basically leave a big dick
Penis.
joke. Yeah. So
And some feces.
So no wonder why nobody wants to visit us
Right?
on our planet.
We're jerks.
We are jerks. But I just thought that was all super fascinating.
That's crazy. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's all. I love the 96. You know, you don't want to be on the moon and be like, oh, what's this? And
It's a bunch of Earth junk.
a bunch of poop, earth poop and penis drawings. So there you go. Some moon mysteries for you guys. Hope that was
That's
acceptable.
the most mysterious part for me. Why would we do that?
I remember years ago reading about the, it only came to light a couple years ago too, the Moon Museum piece that is on the moon but seriously, you look at it and it's like this one, the Robert Rauschenberg's part in that was a straight line. It's like, come on. I mean, this is something that is going on a different planetary body,
Right.
you know, and Andy Warhol's initials. I'll show you. I'll bring it up right now for you. It's fascinating. Look up Moon Museum on Google, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Bringing it up for Krista. There. Andy Warhol's is in the upper
You probably don't need to point the penis
the
photo
upper
to me.
left-hand corner.
Oh, yep. Sure.
That's a penis.
It could be a spaceship, too.
It could be.
But, wow. A little Mickey Mouse thing and a straight line. And some weird geometric shapes.
I mean, straight line, dude. Take
Whoa,
some pride in your.
Did he do it freehand? Is it perfectly straight?
No, it's even
That would be
crooked.
something.
It's
Oh.
even crooked. It's like, come
Okay.
on. But that is Moon Museum. Look it up. It's fascinating. So there you go.
All right.
Time for some listener questions.
Yeah. I'm excited.
What time are we?
Hour 34 minutes.
We're doing good. We got time for one.
I just wanted to say quick while Kurt is pulling this up to our listeners in California, our hearts go out to you with these
That's horrible.
wildfires.
That is bad.
I just can't even believe what's happening right
No.
now. It's just amazing that people are getting out alive, and it's so sad to hear about the people whose lives have been lost and all of the homes. Thousands and thousands of people are homeless. I mean, that is just...
But just looking at the footage of it, it's just devastating.
And all the animals. Oh, the
Yeah.
animals. It's just so heartbreaking from every perspective. So we're thinking about you guys.
Ready?
Ready?
This one would have been good for Halloween for a couple weeks ago. This is from Bridget, so it's not anonymous.
Okay.
Hey, Bridget.
Hey, Bridget.
Love the podcast. I listened to her podcast.
Yeah, the new episode wasn't on my Stitcher this morning, so I have to look again. We're talking about my best vintage life with Bridget Morowski.
I don't think you and I have talked about this on the show, but this is tonight's question from Bridget. What is your favorite classic horror movie?
Oh, she already knows what I'm going to say. Probably. Because she loves it too. The Birds. It's one of my favorites. Hitchcock.
See, I never got into The Birds.
Oh man, if I run in, it's that movie, one of the movies that I could find it on TV and it could be halfway through and I will just sit and watch the rest of it. It's such a great movie. I love it. Love it.
It was
We're talking
okay.
like classic, old school.
I thought Psycho was better than The Birds.
Yeah, and I like The Birds better. I don't know. I love Tippi Hedren though. That might be part of it.
Do you ever read like how they did the stuff in The Birds? How...
I saw, Eli Roth's History of Horror. I'm telling you, people, you got to watch it because they talked about how he used storyboards for that whole movie.
Yeah.
Every single scene, every shot of the camera was a storyboard that he created ahead of time. Nothing was left to, let's see how this works out. Everything was meticulously planned. And
But there's
kind of amazing.
like super interesting things. Like there's a scene where Tippi Hedren, a bird like scratches her head, like lands on her head and scratches her head and flies away. And they did that by... She had two tubes connected to her head all these birds were trained to land on people.
Okay.
So she had these 2 tubes connected to her head so that as soon as the bird landed on her head, one tube squirted out fake blood and the other tube squirted out air, which scared the bird off.
Oh,
and everything just happened perfect. But they said what was funny was that a lot of these birds that were trained to land on people, they just let free after the shooting. So they said after the film was released, a lot of these birds would just randomly land on people.
Scaring the bejesus out of everyone.
Scared the hell out of especially anybody that saw the movie.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
so these birds were landing on people all over the place. But it's really interesting when you read like how they did this movie.
Yeah, back in the day when...
It was a really big feat for them to make this like they did. So it's super interesting.
And Bridget just posted on, I think Instagram and Facebook that she was going to go to a viewing of it at a theater, but something happened and she couldn't go. But she found a vintage copy of the book, apparently of short stories, where this
I saw that
story originated from. And I didn't know that The Birds was based off of a short story. So that was interesting.
Hitchcock was amazing.
Yeah.
I love North by Northwest. That's not a horror movie, but I love North by Northwest.
Hey, you and I talked about this on our last drive home.
Did we?
From the podcast, yes.
Did
I remember.
I don't even remember.
So what is your choice?
What do you think my choice is? Classic horror movie. My classic
movie?
is not as far back as yours.
Oh.
Classic horror movie. My favorite classic horror movie.
Oh, man. I feel like you're testing me.
Yeah.
I want to say Blair Witch, but I'm sure that's not it.
No. Think earlier.
Earlier?
Think a movie that set the standard for horror movies.
Halloween.
Yes.
Okay.
The original Halloween is by
John
far
Carpenter's,
one of the...
Yeah.
I think that is a perfect horror movie. There's very little blood.
Yeah.
And it's just...
The pacing of it is so good.
And a lot of these movies rely on nighttime for scares, but like the scene where she looks and he's standing like at the hedge, like on the side of the hedge, just looking, like that. And it's like during the day. That movie is just amazingly done. Halloween is an amazing horror movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it is the best horror movie.
It really did set the standard for every movie that came after
but then it started the holiday trend for horror movies where you had, Friday the 13th, Prom Night.
Yeah.
You had all those movies that had April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those came from that, whether for good or bad.
Again, Eli Roth's History of Horror. Rob Zombie is someone who's frequently on there.
I don't like Rob Zombie horror movies.
I do.
They're too realistic. We've discussed this.
Oh, yeah, but his rendition of Halloween I thought was excellent. I thought it was excellent.
I don't know.
And the second one. Anyway, but as
I love
horror
Halloween
movie
3.
fan.
Halloween
really?
3 gets crapped on a lot with the masks.
Okay, right.
I liked Halloween 3, but Halloween 1 is...
But you guys should check out Eli Roth's History of Horror because like Jamie Lee Curtis is on that and she talked about what it was like to play that role and how it's still the greatest role that she ever played. And
I wanted to see the new one, but I didn't get a chance to see the new one yet.
I haven't either. My stylist, Ashley.
Hey, Ashley.
She did see it in the theater and she said it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard from people that said it was great.
Yeah.
So I'll have to get you when it comes out on DVD or Netflix or something.
I heard the movie Bohemian Rhapsody knocked it out of first place finally.
Or we could go see it in Manitowoc at the movie theater, the discount one where we did the ghost investigation.
Ooh, is it there? Is it playing there?
No, but it's probably going to be at some point.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's a classic.
Yeah, me too.
Really
I have to watch it every year.
So
when
The Birds and Halloween, those are two pretty good movies.
Pretty good classics, yeah.
Those are classics. So thank you, Bridget. Thanks you for the good question. And I think that about wraps it up for tonight.
Yeah.
I think Krista and I are going to leave. Hopefully we can see the moon so she can finally point out the man on the moon to me because I don't know where it is. Maybe we'll see some objects on the moon. Who knows?
With our X-ray vision.
With our X-ray vision.
I was just talking about how I might need new cheater glasses, so I'm probably not going to be seeing anything walking.
My eyes are
across
bad.
the surface.
I cannot read. Like if I'm holding up my cell phone, I can't read on it
You
unless I take
the
my glasses
trombone.
off. Yeah, I have to get new glasses, but God, I'm getting old. On that depressing note, from Krista and I,
check out our. We gotta talk about our. You're so ready to say Stay Strange.
She was giving me the hands.
I'm like
she was
the hands, guys. We're on Facebook. She was
giving me the stop in the name of love.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Please rate us on iTunes.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the iTunes ratings.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I do think that helps like push our podcast up and like
like if people search paranormal or something like that, I think it increases our spot on there for people to find us.
We do have a website, but nobody ever goes to it. It's
No.
more like just a vessel for the RSS feed, which pushes our podcast out everywhere. If you want to answer the question about the old school, what's your favorite classic Halloween movie? Put it on the Strangers. We'd love to hear what you guys think. And I don't know what else.
I don't know. Just thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Every week we're just sort of astounded at the fact that anyone's listening.
Yeah. You people are amazing.
And we have an episode now that's had over 1,000 listens, and that's kind of a big deal for us. And
It is kind of
it's
a big
the
deal.
Paulding Light and Solway Firth episode.
But when you say that, it scares me that we have so many people
I know,
listening.
a little bit. I'm sure
you
some
said
of
on
those
the
are
you said on the
more
ride here, in my head we're still talking to like maybe the
10, 15
the
people.
10, 15 people that we communicate with the most.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Which
so
is fine. We'll
yeah.
just always play
Yep.
it that way, and we'll never change, and
Nope.
we won't get, big headed or anything like that.
No.
So.
We'll remember you guys when we're all big and famous, and I need an entourage. I always wanted an
And
entourage.
an intern.
And an intern.
Darn it, we need an
Entourage
intern.
and an intern. So from Krista and us.
Ooh, who
Wow.
else is here, Kurt?
Oh, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
So from Krista and I, until next time, stay
strange.
strange.
That was really funny. This has been an Old School Media production, executive produced by Kurt Konechny. For more information and content, please visit strangesessions.com.